Welcome to She Speaks, the Female Truth, where two women navigate the ups and downs of life with humor, heart, and a whole lot of honesty.
Hi, welcome back. We're happy to have you join us today as we embark on this adventure of talking all things taboo that maybe our moms and grandmas didn't want to talk about. And we're talking about it with you today on She Speaks.
What are we talking about?
Well, today we are going to be talking about unloading the mind. And Kathy, you brought up an amazing term, I guess, the other day that it literally blew my mind. It was called the mental load.
Yes.
And I had no clue this was a thing. Never heard the term before.
Well, the reality is you had a clue that it was a thing because you felt it.
I thought it was a me thing.
I can guarantee you felt it.
I thought it was a me thing.
Yeah, you just didn't have a word to go with it.
Yeah, but it's a thing.
Mm-hmm. So the mental load, I think every single woman can relate. Mm-hmm. And the mental load, statistically, is women carry the mental load 70% of the time out of a relationship. But we're going to start off with a little disclaimer because I had this conversation with my husband and talking about the mental load. We weren't sitting down having a serious conversation like we were trying to work it out. We were just talking about the subject of mental load. And I could see it on his face that it wasn't that maybe he didn't necessarily agree with it, but I think it's harder for men to listen to it. So that's just how, because we're built differently. And that's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with the fact that we are different. We're meant to be different. We're not meant to be the same.
Right.
But our disclaimer is when we talk about these things, especially like this subject, we in no way are saying men don't carry a load.
Right.
Oh, they carry a load. Sometimes they offload that onto us.
Yes.
But by no way, like we're not putting men down.
No.
Like that's not what this is about.
No.
But we're women, so we can only speak to how women feel and what it is that we are carrying. So we're just gonna start with a little disclaimer before we get hate, on episode 1 over here. We don't need any haters in the club, you guys.
And we're not doctors. We're not therapists.
No.
We're literally just talking about our experiences and how it affects us, and then also throwing in some statistics in there here and there to kind of help you as our listener also feel not alone. We are here.
If you're going to define mental load, it basically is the invisible labor that you experience in running and taking care of basically an entire household, family, that sort of thing. It's all of the invisible things. So it's not necessarily all of the tasks, the chores, the responsibilities, your to-do list. So yes, those are things, but those are physical things that you're doing. So there is also the mental load that goes along with that. And I think a lot of women feel it. They don't talk about it. And I think a lot of the times we're perceived as nagging or complaining or not grateful or any of those things just because maybe you're exhausted and you're talking about it. So that's not what this is about, but it is there. It's a legit thing, you guys. And a lot of people call it worry work because stress and anxiety and worry go along with it. And you feel all of that. So, and I think that increases also depending on how many kids you have.
Right.
Most definitely. So, I'm not saying like one person that has 7 kids has a worse mental load than maybe somebody that has 1. That could be a lot for the person who has 1 as well. So it just increases with the more people you add into the mix.
Right.
One thing that I feel like it's kind of sad actually is that it is rarely valued. It is probably somebody who carries the mental load. It is probably something that should be extremely valued because they're carrying it for you.
Yeah.
They're literally taking it all off of your plate, but yet it's not really talked about and it's not really valued. It's hardly even noticed. Now multiply that by everything. So is the laundry done? Does it need to get done? When does it need to get done? What items in the laundry can't actually be dried? What soap can you use? Which kid okay, belongs to what? So my kids wear a uniform to school. Okay, now I know on these days, is their uniform clean? Is it hung up? Is it ready for them? And then it's, one of the funny things, it wasn't funny at the time because it was kind of like, but it's down to toothpaste. So the little one, she only likes a certain toothpaste.
Of course.
So then, of course, she has a meltdown and she loses it when dad puts the wrong toothpaste on the toothbrush. And then he's like, well, how do I even know that there's different toothpaste? Well, you don't know because you don't carry that mental load.
Right.
So it's not a jab at him. He just doesn't carry it. But it's literally all of the things. What's for dinner? How do you plan dinner? Who's going to do the grocery shopping? Who is going to manage the house? Who's going to take care of the dogs? Who's going to do all of these things on top of working?
Right.
Of working. And, 70% of women carry this mental load. We're not saying that men aren't. There's a lot of men out there that do all of these functions. We're talking about us, though, and the majority of women. And it is really exhausting.
It is.
It is exhausting because along with those, you're also maintaining all of the relationships and you're managing all of the emotions.
Right.
So that is like one thing that people don't really realize. So you, as a woman, are managing your own emotions, right? And we got them. And sometimes they change drastically, so you got to be on your toes.
They don't go anywhere.
But then also, if you have kids, like you're managing all of your kids' emotions, especially depending on what age they're at and the stage that they're at. So that's one thing. And then let's be real, we're managing our husband's emotions as well.
Yes.
Because, okay, what kind of day is he having? Does the house need to be a little quieter? Does, are the kids behaving? Do we need to update them and be like, hey, listen, your dad had a rough day. Go easy on them because you know what teenagers are like sometimes. So it's the managing emotions part, I think, is so physically exhausting.
Yeah.
Because you're managing all of yours, but then yours gets shoved to the back burner
As it often
while
does.
you're managing everybody else's. So all of that adding up, and the thing with the mental load, it is never ending.
No.
You don't get a break. So at least my experience and people that I talk to, we don't have the capability or the luxury, which I think it's a luxury if you're able to do this, shutting it off at a certain time, you want to lay down, go lay down. You want to just chill out and watch a movie, then you just chill out and watch a movie.
Yeah.
You want to do a little Netflix and chill, then you have that option. I personally don't have that option.
Yeah.
Because something is on fire 24/7. Like literally on fire 24/7.
Yeah.
And it is definitely a luxury when people have that option. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it is a luxury. So it's never ending and it's all encompassing all at the same time. And everybody feels it.
Yeah.
They don't really want to talk about it though, because then if you talk about it, then that's not a good thing, right?
It's a sign of weakness. If you can't handle it all and you don't want to ask for help. And literally, I looked this up and it said tips. And the first one was, keep lists. Which, try making a list when you're driving. I have like almost an hour on the way to work. I can't make a list.
So lists are also a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So if I go to you and I'm like, Deb, let me help you.
Right.
And I'm like, make me a list of what you want me to do. I'm not helping her because now she has to not only stop what she's doing and take the time to make the list, but if it's something that I don't do on a regular basis, I'm not going to know what to do or how to do it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it actually isn't offloading the mental load.
It's making it more complicated.
Yes.
Because I don't need to make a list to think about what needs to be done. I just know that I need to get it done.
Yeah. Because you're a grown woman.
Yeah. And things have to and if I don't do it, it won't get done.
No.
And again, not slamming my husband or my kids, but just I know that if I don't think these things through, it won't get done.
That's true.
So
that is true.
The other one was ask for help. Again, I say this to my kids all the time, and even my husband. I don't have my mother calling me saying, Deb, did you wash your sheets this week?
You
I
don't?
just know, no, I don't.
Oh,
I'd
mine
love
does
it.
all the time.
Oh my gosh, I'd
It's like,
love it.
Kathy, take a shower. Kathy, did you brush your teeth?
Yes.
Yeah, it's great.
I honestly, I would love that. Will she adopt me? Maybe I should have my mom.
my
I'll call my
gosh.
mom and have her start doing that for me.
Yeah, maybe she needs to increase her mental load.
She does.
Just saying.
Yeah. Room for
My
growth.
God.
So,
Aim higher, Mom. Aim higher.
so asking for help to me is, again, no one has to tell me what to do, so I just do it. I don't have to wait for someone to ask me to unload the dishwasher. If I walk by the dishwasher and I have to put a dirty plate away,
Yeah.
I open up the dishwasher, I see that they're clean, I empty it. No one tells me to empty it. I just know it has to get done, so I do it.
Yes.
So often, people don't do that. My husband does not do that.
So one of the hardest things, I think, and some of it is me. I need to manage my emotions about this. But when somebody does help, then they make it a huge deal that they helped, and then that's like they're doing me a big favor.
Yeah.
And I tell my kids all the time, like there are a few things that I'm notorious for saying, and it's going to be written all over my gravestone. This is one of them. I am not the maid. Like, I literally am not the maid. I am not the house manager. I am not the maid.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I technically am, I'm not though. So it's like, why is it automatically my responsibility?
Right.
Why is it just automatically assumed, well, Mom's just going to do it. My wife
Yeah.
is just going to do it. Kathy will just do it. So that's what makes it harder, because then you feel like you're so obligated to do it, and then you don't have choices. But then if somebody does it once, even though you just did it the other 9,768 times, they're like, I did that. I need gratification. I need you to say how great I did at that. And I'm doing you a favor. Like,
Yeah.
I helped you. I did you a favor.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
My daughter works, she's 15, and she had to get picked up from work. So my husband's outside with the neighbor and the dogs, and I'm exhausted. And I'm like, hey, are you gonna go pick up Lily? And he looks at me and he goes, oh, are you asking me if I can? Are you asking me to pick her up? Sir, you were there when she was born. You were probably more aware in that moment of her entering into this earth than I was. I was passed out in pain. Like, you saw her enter into this earth, sir. You know that she is part of you too.
Right.
Like, hello. You contributed to this human being.
You had fun making her.
Exactly. Like, and now, like,
go pick her up from work.
like, I don't think I should have to ask you to go pick our daughter up from work. I shouldn't have to ask you that. I guarantee you, I had this conversation with my mom today. I guarantee you, and again, this isn't slamming my husband. It's not. It's just, again, this mental load, and women are 3 times more likely to experience this. So it's statistics. It's not just, husband bashing. But I guarantee you that if I woke up, she works on Saturdays. If I woke up on a Saturday and left and went shopping or like went to the mall or to go get a massage or something like that, and he woke up and I wasn't there, he'd probably just get up and leave the house and go do his thing.
Do whatever.
And Lily would be like, what the hell? Who's taking me to work? He wouldn't think of it.
Yeah.
Even though I'm gone, he would not think of, and again, not bashing him, he would not think of that. Whereas I wake up every Saturday, Lily, don't forget, you got to get this done. You got to get this done. You got to do this. Let's get ready for work.
I'm always like, on top of managing the homework, then you're like, okay, don't forget, you work at this time, And, I'm in the middle of trying to teach my kids also, if you know you have to be up and somewhere at this time and you need to accomplish something, then you need to figure out. And I tell them all the time, I'm like, nobody says, hey, Mom, don't forget you have to wake up at 6 a.m.
Right.
Don't forget you have to go to sleep by this time. Don't forget.
Mm-hmm.
No, because we're already constantly thinking about all of that plus everything for everybody else. So,
Yep.
I think the hard part, and women can vent about this stuff forever,
Right.
right? We can go on and on. Everybody has stories. Everybody can talk about how they feel about this. But I think the hard part is then finding that balance so it doesn't actually flip to bitterness and resentment.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a dangerous, slippery slope. There's always going to be a mental load, regardless. Any time that it's no longer about you and you have other people in the mix, there's always a mental load. How much of it is going to matter?
Right.
Like, it's going to definitely matter. But, I catch myself every once in a while. It's not like I'm resentful of my husband, but sometimes I'm just like, what would you people do if I literally died tomorrow? Like, the house would crumble.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not me patting myself on the back. It's just like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like, get it together.
Right.
So it's just, it's hard. And, what kind of goes along with that, which to me is sad, is, you're married for a reason, right? So all of these things, bitterness, resentment, then it also affects your intimacy, how close you feel with somebody. I'm a very emotional driven person.
Yeah.
So there's some people that are very physically driven. I'm emotionally driven. And if I'm emotionally exhausted, emotionally feeling like I don't matter, or people aren't appreciative, then it affects a lot more stuff with me, because that's what drives me. So it's sad also what it leads to for women that are carrying that.
It is, and I think that, cortisol is one of them.
Yes.
Is a huge. I mean, it's the quarterback of we need it. We need to have cortisol. It's our fight or flight. It's, all the great things. Too much of it, though, that's
Yes.
where it gets dangerous.
So then, that stress level that you hold on to, it increases your cortisol levels, which affects your hormones. And, us women, we're very hormonal. We're told all the time.
We are
You're being
reminded
hormonal.
reminded constantly.
Oh, my God. Yes. It's always a joy. Always a joy.
Oh, my gosh.
Those cortisol levels affect it, and then things manifest physically, right?
Yeah.
So then you have all the weight gain, and then if you have any other issues along with it, it just compounds, makes it worse, and then it adds more of the mental load. Okay, now I'm gaining weight. What's going on? I need to lose weight. I need to feel better. I'm a firm believer that all sizes are beautiful. Like, I stand behind that in all aspects, even with my work. Like, I stand behind that. But you also need to feel good.
100%.
Whatever that is for you. Some people feel great at 150 pounds. Some people feel great at 250 pounds. Like, that's like an individual thing, and only you can decide. But when you have that hormone, and then those stress levels increase, and then it starts manifesting physically, so then that's really, really sad. So one thing that I figured, like, I learned, so we all knew about the mental load, but then when we dived into
some of us. Some of us knew about
you just
it.
didn't have a word to go with it.
Yeah,
So
true
you
point.
knew.
Yes.
So some things that I learned after it, so what makes me actually really sad for people is that 51% who feel this stress level, feel this load, actually suffer from depression from it.
I believe that.
And to me, that's like, it hurts my heart. That's sad. 16% self-harm from those feelings. 32% have suicidal thoughts from those feelings.
Yeah.
So, some of it, like, we jokingly vent about some things. We talk serious about some things. But it actually affects a lot of people with their mental health in a lot of ways. And then if you have children, they're also watching you.
Right.
If you have daughters, a lot of daughters imitate their mothers in a lot of ways. So that and then, what are you teaching them? So it's kind of like a vicious cycle all at the same time.
It is. Yeah.
So again, we're not saying that men don't have a load.
Yeah.
They have a load.
They do.
But what was really interesting is that even though both men and women experience these stresses, a woman's brain is just different altogether. So when those stresses kick in, there's actually a part of the brain that stays active for a woman but goes inactive for a man.
Isn't that crazy? I never knew this until you told me this.
Yeah. So then that's why women can't stop processing it.
And you can't fight statistics and you can't fight science.
No. So
We will admit that we are hormonal. We are,
100%.
we're not denying that.
I can be an emotional train wreck. Drop of a hat.
But I think what the important part is recognizing it
Yeah.
and knowing that you're not alone. And I think for men too, like not telling men what to do, but like have a little bit more compassion. This is science. This is how we are made.
Yeah. So it's just reading those things and learning about it's sad, but it's also interesting about how we're built all
Yeah.
different and we're made differently for a reason. But it's interesting how a part of the brain goes inactive for a man, so he doesn't have to process that constantly. So I'm sure he'll tell you he does.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure to him he feels like he does.
Right.
100%.
Right.
You know, my husband, he works really hard. He does. He works really hard. He works hard for us. He provides, you know, all of the things. But the reality is he has himself and he manages himself, meaning like he manages his work schedule and then whatever social activities he does. He doesn't have to manage the house. He doesn't have to manage the bills. He doesn't have to manage what's for dinner, what's in the fridge, who's going grocery shopping. You know, when do the kids, like, okay, who's picking them up? Who's taking them? Is their laundry done? Is their homework done?
Right.
Like, he doesn't have to manage a single thing of that. And I think that plays a part.
I think if I were to be in my husband's head, he would constantly be thinking about when can I go and play the flute? Like, when can I go have Adam time?
Listen, I love those videos. He makes these videos and he's chilling out. He's relaxing.
He's
not
passionate.
because he's not having to pick up Lily on Saturdays from work.
He's not. He's passionate. I will say, my husband is very passionate. He brings Tree Hugger to a whole new level. He is the most relaxed person I've ever met, like man or woman. He is like the most relaxed.
I enjoy
person.
conversations with him.
If my husband shows any type of anger or frustration, shit just got real. Like
It is the end of the world.
Yeah.
Go to the bunker.
My kids say that they
It's
get
like
scared
that.
when he gets mad. Because it's normal for mom. When mom gets mad, it's just another day.
Mom's just having another episode.
Just another moment. She's just having
Mom's
more
doing
load.
mom stuff.
Yeah. But when dad gets mad, it's all seriousness.
Oh my gosh.
But, you know, going back to intimacy too, I will say I am really heavy, like talking about sex and intimacy. When I feel frustrated with my husband or I feel overwhelmed, it's not happening. And I hold on to things. I carry it to the next day, to the next week, to the next month.
Oh, I hold on to things like crazy. I still, listen, my husband still makes fun of me, not in a bad way, but it is kind of a joke that one time we were eating at Denny's and the waitress wasn't paying attention and she turned the corner and she literally dumped a whole tray of beverages down my back.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I was like, Denny's, you're dead to me.
Oh,
you
my
are dead to
gosh,
me. I
no.
will never step foot into another Denny's again.
I love Denny's.
I hold a grudge like nobody's business. You wouldn't love Denny's if you had 12 Cokes going down your back. It was like, I'm like, oh, you are dead to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
But
terrible.
it's a thing.
Terrible about that.
It is a thing. I think I told you I lost my best friend
Yes.
over a wedding dress.
I
a
have
wedding
mixed
dress.
feelings about that. Why don't you tell them?
All right. So I had a best friend. She was like a sister from another mister.
Like,
Loved
legit
her.
bestie.
Legit. Like if we weren't together on a weekend, my parents and hers were both scared. Like what happened with them? We
Everything okay?
lived together. We were inseparable. And, you know, my husband now is my high school sweetheart, dated off and on. We were like, you know, he'd look the wrong way and we're over. You know, very dramatic as teenagers
Emotional.
are.
You're just
very
being
emotional. Very emotional. So we were up and down all the time. But so we ended up having our oldest daughter in July. So July birthday, Ruby is her birthstone. And my girlfriend got engaged to her high school sweetheart, super excited for her. wasn't in love with the guy, but not my choice, right? So very excited for her. And she wanted to go look at wedding dresses. And I said, well, I have plans this weekend. How about next weekend? She goes, no problem. I already made an appointment. I'm going to go to David's Bridal, which was right next door to Chuck E. Cheese. And if you grew up or had a kid in 2001, you know that Chuck E. Cheese was the place to be. We were living at Chuck E. Cheese.
Hated and loved that place all
Oh my gosh. We lived there. So my oldest loved going there. So anyways, David's Bridal right next door. Every time I went to Chuck E. Cheese, I'd see this beautiful wedding dress in the window, and it had this red, I still see it in my head. Isn't that crazy? It's been 22 years.
PTSD.
Seriously. So I see this dress in the window, beautiful white dress, white sash on it, or a red sash on it, and I'm like, that's my wedding dress when I get married. Red for my daughter's birthstone. And whoever I marry, again, I was in the off moments with my now husband, and the baby daddy, I was like, that's going to be my dress. I'm going to wear that because whoever marries me is marrying her. So there was like this connection to that dress. So I said, hey, you're going to David's Bridal, super cool. P.S. by the way, just don't buy that dress in the window. Made it very clear. You're going to see this dress.
It's mine.
It's mine. I'm not dating anybody. I have no plans to get married anytime soon, but that's my dress.
It was a dream. It was your dream.
It was my dream. And long story short, she picks that dress. And we are no longer friends because of it. And I feel like sometimes I think I should not have died on that mountain because I miss her. I miss her. And I sent her letters and I apologized and I, accepted responsibility, held accountability. All the things. I said some bad things, like ripped on her fiance because I was mad. I was livid. She picked my dress of all the dresses that were in the store. And she picked mine. It wasn't mine, but it was mine. And I held on to that. And so, yeah, I held on, we're emotional beings. We have feelings and we hold on to things. So
that affects every aspect of your life, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
It affects my mood. It affects how I interact with my kids. It affects, interaction with my husband. It affects, intimacy, of course. It affects all of those things. Whereas men, I think, are the majority of men. Maybe I'm wrong. I think theirs is physical.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look at you. See, I always say that God knew what he was doing when he gave me girls because I cannot stomach boys like fighting. And like my husband comes from a family of him and just his brother. And my husband has battle scars from like, I mean, sometimes, but he has battle scars of when they would shoot each other with BB guns. Like I never allowed Nerf guns in my house because I was like, we are not having guns.
And I'm the opposite. I have fights with them.
I love that.
Listen, I will take you out. I don't care that I birthed you. If we are in a battle, I will take headshots.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
I love that.
100%. See, I'm vicious.
I think you are very much you are like a perfect boy's mom.
I'm lucky I got both.
Yeah. I am good with my girls. I am very, very good with my girls.
Oh my God.
My daughter worries that when she has kids, if I'm going to not love them because they're boys.
You're going to love them.
I'm going to love them.
I'm going to love them.
So now that we talked about all of what causes it, some examples of it, what do you personally do to help unload the load?
Like, where do you go from there?
Yeah, like where do you go?
So I think, number one, you have to start by actually talking about it. But listen, you have to gauge the right mood of the moment. So there's a way to talk about it, and then there's a way to talk about it. So you can talk about it by nagging, complaining, harassing, like being all of those things, and you will literally get nowhere.
Yeah.
I think you have to read the room, read your husband. I think you have to determine, okay, is he actually in a mental place to, number one, take me seriously, and two, be open to hearing it. Because I think a lot of the problem is men take it all personally.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I'm helping you. I
Right.
helped you. I did you a favor. I did this. And we just view it differently.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
we're feeling it different. So I think that's where it starts. You have to have real honest conversations, and you have to make sure that your spouse, your partner, you know, whoever that is in a place to receive it.
Yeah.
And it has to be like, you know, I usually start off, like me personally, I start off the conversations with my husband by saying, okay, can I talk to you about something serious? Can I give you some advice? Like, can I give you some advice on what I'm seeing? Like, we do that a lot with our kids. Like, you know, if he sees something, a way a situation happened, or if I'm seeing it, you know, we let it be known, because we also are sarcastic and joke around a lot. So I think it's unfair if you don't make that line clear going into the conversation, because they might be thinking, okay, this is just another sarcastic conversation or whatever. Like, I think you have to make those expectations clear that you want to have a serious conversation.
Yeah.
So, you know, be open to those talks for sure. And then you have to set boundaries. And that's one thing I struggle with. I still struggle. I'm 46 and I still struggle with setting boundaries. I'm learning. I'm not quite there yet, but you have to set some boundaries. You have to figure out what those boundaries are for you.
Yeah.
It's going to be different for everybody.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you have to figure out, you know, I think another thing that people don't talk about are your triggers.
Oh,
Like, you got to figure out what
Yes.
triggers you, what makes your mental load even worse by your triggers. And if somebody in the house is doing those triggers, you need to be willing to talk about it and be like, look, even if you don't understand this, I'm telling you it's a problem for me.
and you do that with your husband and your kids.
Well, all, yes.
Yeah.
Even the little 6-year-old.
I love that.
Like, you know, but we're also, and we'll go into this, you know, at some point we'll talk about parenting and all this other stuff, but we're firm believers in you have to be accountable for your part in any situation.
Right.
Doesn't mean you're fully to blame. It doesn't mean that you are wrong. You could have very well been right. But if I made you feel a certain way by my action, I have to take account for that and be accountable. And I have to come to you and acknowledge that and apologize and ask you for forgiveness. And you know, it's funny is my husband and I got together. I was really young. I was 21. And I was very much, he was 27, already ready to get married. And I'm like, dude, I am 21.
Slow down.
Slow down. You're acting like a stalker. Like, seriously. I was just like, whatever.
Oh my gosh.
And he was very much like, we need to set rules. And I was like, okay, we'll see if we even last. Like,
Yeah.
here we are 25 years later.
I love
But
that.
I never learned that stuff. And it's not, you know, bashing my parents. I had a different upbringing for sure. But I figured if I say sorry, my sorry should be good enough. And if you don't think my sorry is good enough, then that's your problem. Like, I was very much an angry person, like legit angry. And he actually, you know, over the years taught me there's a big difference. Sorry is acknowledging yourself.
Yeah.
Asking for forgiveness is acknowledging the other person.
I'm obsessed with that.
So we practice that a lot, and we actually, from the moment our children could speak, we were doing it. And at the same time, we go to them and ask for forgiveness.
Yeah.
So just because I'm 46 and I birthed you
Right.
doesn't mean I'm always right, and it doesn't mean that my actions I get a pass.
Right.
You know, it's no free pass. I'm still a human and you're still a human.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, you have to set those boundaries, and you do have to acknowledge and be accountable, and you have to let your triggers be known. And if you don't know what those triggers are, you need to do some soul searching to figure out what your trigger is.
Right.
You know, the best way is to start avoiding some of this stuff. I think another thing is creating a routine. Like, I know what I need to do when I need to do it.
Yeah.
And I try to maintain that with the kids. And I try, you know, my husband has a pretty crazy schedule. So, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, creating a routine, a system, you know, that's always helpful. I know we talked about, you know, if I have to make you a list, you're not actually helping me. But at the same time, if this is something you really want somebody to learn and take off your plate and help with your mental load, maybe create that one-time list with some directions. You know, even if that means your kid can take it.
Right.
And then, you know what? Don't ask me first. Don't come to me and ask me. Go to the go to that list, that direction, read that, and then go from there. So I think that is also really important. Self-care, self-compassion. We talk all the time. Give yourself grace.
Right.
I think we're really, really hard on ourselves. Like, nothing is good enough. We're not good enough. We don't deserve this. We're not worthy. We're not doing enough.
Right.
But yet we're doing everything, and we're upset about doing everything, but we're not doing enough.
Right.
It's a terrible, terrible vicious cycle that you get wrapped up in.
It's that, what's that? America Ferrera did that one quote in Barbie, in the Barbie movie.
Oh, yeah, that made me cry, actually.
I could not, it was like, did you write this for me? When
Right.
she said that?
Yeah.
I was like, did you write this for me? Do you know me?
It's the female truth.
It is the female truth.
It is the truth behind what we all feel. But, you know, give yourself grace. And that's going to be a hard one. It's going to be, it sounds easy. It's going to be hard. And you have to let go.
Yeah.
You have to be okay with something. Like, I suffer from being a perfectionist. Like, I mean, this is a joking way, but I like the dishwasher loaded a certain way, like for like, all together. I have an order, everything gets done. And then my son, who is 14, I figure, like, that's all I need to say. It's like the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
You know, and bless his heart, he has good intentions.
Yeah.
So I have to, like, and that's a joking one. There's serious, more deeper ones, but you have to be able to let that go.
Yeah.
And you have to be okay with it not being okay.
Right.
And I think that is a tough one. And I think all of these things and these tips and tricks and all these things that we talk about, we don't talk about them because we're perfecting them.
Right.
We talk about them because if we don't constantly talk about them to remind ourselves to do it, then we're failing at it too.
Right.
So I think it's something that everybody has to do all the time. But I think those are good steps to start.
Yeah.
It definitely isn't the end all be all by no means. And I think, hey, and here's the truth. If you don't have a good girlfriend to talk to us.
Heck yeah.
Like, you know,
Absolutely.
Deb comes from a different background. I come from a different background. And, you know, at some point, somebody's going to be able to relate to you. And I think having a female relationship is really difficult in and of itself. That's like a whole nother episode.
Yes.
But if you don't have that person, and I mean that true person, that person that isn't going to judge the words coming out of your mouth.
You have to feel safe.
They're out there. Those
Yeah.
women, those crazy women are out there that are going to judge everything, or they want to know how you're doing, but they don't really want to know how you're doing.
They're just being nosy.
Yeah, so they can be judgmental. And
You know,
be like,
I-
ooh, my life is better than yours.
I think when we talked about having a podcast and we talked about why we would be the perfect people to have this podcast is because we come from such separate backgrounds that we're going to hit everybody in all of our topics.
Yeah.
I think we're just going to hit it all and different viewpoints too. And we respect each other enough to like value and respect each other's different opinions. I'm never going to judge you on yours. And I feel safe.
I will judge her, though.
I know.
First to judge, right here.
But I'll still feel safe coming to you.
Because I'll pretend and I'll be fake and act like it's safe.
That's just what we do.
But don't turn around, I'll stab you.
I know. Exactly.
Oh my God, yes.
No.
Women are crazy, for
We
sure.
We are. And I will say, like, for me, I take like at least an hour bath every night. That
your
is
self-care.
my self-care. And that
Yeah.
is so important to me. And we'll go through this in a different episode later on. But like I suffered from mental illness. And I think it's like alcoholism where you don't just go get help and then you're cured. It's something that you carry with forever, the rest of your life. And I suffered from severe, mental illness, depression, anxiety, all the things. And it wasn't until I was at treatment and had the help and the guidance to kind of own my truth that I was like, all right, I'm going to start doing things for myself.
Yeah.
And ever since then, and it's been 14 years, I take an hour at least bath every night. And my family knows it. And if my husband knows I'm having a bad day at work, he will call me on the way home and go, I'm getting your bath ready. Because it's so important to me to have that time. And I might just sit and watch a show on my phone. I might just sit and take a nap.
And that's okay.
But I'm not being interrupted.
Yeah, we're in a stage that I am just lucky if you don't walk in on me while I'm trying to pee.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just thankful.
Because you have a young kiddo.
Oh, Lord. It's all of them, though, and the dogs. Like, there's no privacy. So we're at that stage. So actually, right before we were coming here, you know, because I don't care what I say, I was going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And she just barges right in.
The dog?
No, the little
daughter?
one. The dogs do that too. But the little one. And then she goes, oh, that's right, Mom. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be working on this. And she walks out and then she knocks and she goes, Mom, am I allowed to come in?
Oh, stop.
And I was like, yes.
I
won.
love that.
I won.
Yes.
I won only in this moment. But I
Yes.
won. And I'll take that victory. But
Yeah.
it's like, you know, those things look different. Like don't have the option, and I wouldn't do that because
Yeah.
I'm not in that place. But you know, Deb also doesn't have a 6-year-old.
Right.
I have a 6-year-old that is clingy and is attached to me. You know, so everybody's life is going to be different. And I think, you know, as you're working through this mental load and you are talking it out and you're finding that good girlfriend that you can just rely on, I think one of the things is you need to always remember, don't compare yourself.
Oh, gosh.
Comparison will
Do
be the
not.
thief of everything.
It will.
It
In
will
work.
rob you. It will rob you in all
Yeah.
aspects of your life, not just with this mental load that we're talking about. All aspects of your life, comparison will rob you.
Absolutely.
100%. You're gonna get stuck in that cycle.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you bringing awareness that there is this term out there, so I didn't feel so alone experiencing those things.
You're welcome.
I'm loving it. And hopefully you, as our listeners, also learned a little bit today about what, you know, those steps are. And because maybe you don't even know that I didn't even know there were steps.
Yeah.
But they all made sense.
So, you know, I think the takeaway of this, you guys, is it comes down to it, be kind. Be kind doesn't always work just with others. You need to be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Be kind, give yourself grace.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm excited for next week. What are we touching on next week?
We are going to continue and walking the tightrope.
Oh, the balance between life and work. I'm excited. Thank you so much. We can't wait to talk to you guys next week. Have a good one.